This is Boxing Tickets NI. We are delighted to be joined once again with Irish Tiernan Bradley. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good. Training away over here in Brighton and just enjoying life.
I was obviously I've been speaking to your brother, obviously Callum. Obviously, since we've last spoke, obviously it was June of last year before obviously your last fight. But I was sort of speaking to Callum, sort of going, where's Tiernan at? Like, haven't seen. Obviously, I think I shared one of your posts yesterday and things like that. I'm sort of going, where is he? What's he been up to? Like, you obviously, I guess, since we last spoke, you obviously fought and another win, in box rate. You moved to 10-0, but technically you're 11-0 as a pro. Is it is it probably fair to say since probably frustrating, probably annoying for you in some ways? Because, I know you, Tiernan, obviously you always loved to fight, and fighting you sort of just hasn't been coming. Like, have you been injured? What's been going on?
No, I mean, since my last fight, I had two fights on the bounce, back to back, and then just fights never materialized. Then afterwards, it never been offered to me or anything like that. So I think I don't know. It was up to my promoter to try and put on shows. I know they're going. They've just got that deal with the zone. They've signed a few other fighters as well. I think they were trying to get them other fighters out and whatnot. So I understand, but it's also frustrating on the boxers side of things. Nobody wants to sit dormant for 6, 7, 8 months. Um, but look, here we are. I think this year is going to be the breakout year for me, and obviously with me living in Brighton, 6, 7 months out of the ring is not what I want, because the reason why I live over here and away from my family is because I'm a professional boxer and this is where my camp is and my team is. So I think hopefully this year a lot more fights will materialize under the circumstances of the next fight.
I know obviously after your fight in June, the talk was that, and obviously I spoke to Kieran since, and the talk was that obviously it was looking like a Galway show, and then it was looking like a potential wasn't going to be Galway, it was going to be Dublin. So you were sort of waiting, I guess, sort of trying to plan. Because I remember when I spoke to you last time, you had a mate's wedding and things like that, and it's trying to forward plan things. I guess when you're sort of at that focus again and fighting in Ireland, and then it not sort of happening, then it's sort of having to wait for another card. Is it mentally annoying? Obviously, as a fighter, I guess sometimes people don't speak about this enough. Is it mentally annoying when you expect to have fights, you plan your life around everything else to do with the ring, and then when the fights don't happen, then you're sort of going, well, what can I do? Like, am I like a fireman? I'm on call here that another fight could come very quickly. Is annoy? I guess like it's probably your second longest period of the ring. I think you maybe one was a bit longer than that. So I guess you've experienced, you've been used to it. Obviously, you were used to obviously not boxing previously between amateur and pro. Like, does it get any easier, Tiernan, or now that you've had a good bit of activity behind you, is it getting annoying that you probably maybe just didn't have a couple more?
I think I think for myself it's like you have to expect the unexpected in this sport. Take it back to my last fight, June 29th. I had one opponent locked in. He had pulled out 4 weeks or 3 weeks previous because of a broken hand. And then I had another guy locked in who was a much tougher opponent. Um, and then he did not show up to his flight in Argentina and wanted more money. Um, and then I'm thinking, well, what the hell's going on here? And then I got a fight last minute, the day before the weigh-in, against somebody else who was on the card that their opponent pulled out, another English lad who's a contender as well, prospect. Um, so I just said, I'll take it, because nobody wants to not fight, especially when you put in the work for a camp. So yeah, it is difficult, but it's also managing your mentality around those setbacks. Um, and I think that's the key. I mean, you know what? I'm not saying it's all straight. Like me, for me, like I'm not saying that I have a full straight head whenever I don't have fights organized or whenever fights don't materialize. But it's just all about keeping the mentality and pushing forward. Um, and I think that's something that you learn through those months where you don't have a fight is you have to just keep switched on. Stay in the gym. Um, but that's all about learning that in this sport. Um, and I think also sponsors as well for fighters are a massive help for those periods of time. Obviously, a lot of the professional fighters these days do have jobs on the side to keep them kind of going. But also the ones I wouldn't say the ones that are serious about it, but the ones that just have that tunnel vision, you know, rely heavily on the sponsors because they don't actually work and they're just always in the gym. Um, so I think it's just all about learning in between those months.
It's one of them, I guess, it's like anything in life nowadays, like if sort of somebody goes through any hardship, there's somebody out there worse off, and you probably maybe look at it the same way and going, we maybe didn't have the activity as much. Probably the prime example we spoke about the last time, Sean McComb, completely schooled Barboza in America, get robbed of the decision and has been on the shelf since. He's coming up now nearly a year at the ring, at a world class performance. Should be fighting Jack Carroll, should be fighting Jack Carroll in a couple of weeks' time. That's not happening. And he's now having these sort of, probably not using the right word, but trying to whore himself out and go, I'll take any opportunity, give me a couple of weeks. And I guess that's boxing. You sort of look at it that way and you go, well, I haven't had a fight since June, but here there's someone else that's worse off. You can sort of tie it up in life, can't you?
Absolutely, and I think that comes down to just being Irish. Like I don't want to go too deep here, but unfortunately, the Irish people, the only real mainstream promoters that we do have is conlan boxing. you know, and we've got a lot of other small promoters that are pushing through, but at the same time, in England, you have your matchroom, you have your Queensberry, and let's say if you sign with Queensberry or matchroom, automatically that adds maybe another 200 tickets on to your shows, because people want to go see these matchroom shows. Um, Whereas in Ireland, most of the time we are fighting away, because of the bigger shows are and the caliber of opponents that we're fighting and how good we are at fighting. And you see you've got two Irish prospects fighting each other on the 1st of March, Lewis and Paddy. Um, you know, Unfortunately that has came to that they have to fight each other for the world title eliminator. But at the end of the day, there's other fights out there for them, you
Yeah.
know.
I
But
know
it's
the
just
exact one you're thinking on, like we keep seeing, I know Conor Ben's obviously going to fight Chris Eubank now, but he's been highly ranked in them for years. And like if Matchroom really believed in Conor Ben, they would have matched them up against either of them two. But they know how good these two are, that it's better to lose one than obviously them they derail somebody else somewhere else along the line. So that's probably, is that the example you were sort of looking at?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that's why it's so hard for us Irish fighters to kind of get into that road towards the world titles. Um, and then that is the reason a lot of our Irish fighters do move away to say Australia, like the likes of Conor Wallace, who's got a straight kind of shot to the title. And you've seen our past fighters, that have moved away to America and are pushing for titles. Um, and yeah, it's hard for Irish fight fans in a sense, um, to kind of get behind when a lot of their shows are abroad or in certain cities, and that's why Belfast is so important for fight fans, and that's why they always show out for the or for the fighters when it comes to them big shows like in the SSE and the feile. Um, So I love going to them shows. As me being a fight fan from the north of Ireland. Um, Belfast, but everybody from Ireland, like Cork, Kerry, Galway, Limerick, Dublin, they all come up to the SSC. They all come up to see the feile, and sometimes there's a lot more people from the south than there is from the north going
Mm.
to these shows. It's just unfortunately they're starved to shows down south. It was a fantastic show that went on the Three Arena. Um, and hopefully there'll be a lot more. You've got Pierce Leary there as being a fan favourite in Dublin. Hopefully a lot more shows come to Dublin. Rather than us having to go elsewhere and fight.
So speaking obviously on 1st of March, like obviously I guess you as a fight fan, like I'm not obviously going to try and put you in the spot here and obviously who you think will win, but Paddy and Lewis is like, it's like other than probably Mick and TJ, which obviously I know you were there. I think you were there at in the field of 2021. That was obviously at the end of sort of COVID. Like it's probably the nearly ultimate sort of fight. We've never had two Irishmen fighting for a world title. This is the closest we're going to get to it. And like it was obviously at the press conference last week, and bit of nerves from both of them, which you're going to expect. But like we're in for a serious, serious fight in the 1st of March.
I'm I'm really looking forward to it. I'm trying to get back to go. Because obviously I know both lads. I grew up on the national stage with both lads. I've seen the star power that they both have. I've sparred both of them as well, and you know Andy Lee, fantastic coach. He's done fantastic with Paddy Donovan. They have a great team down there, Joe Parker and whatnot. Lewis Crocker with Billy Nelson, I think, is probably one of the best moves he's made to get, moved across to Scotland, train with Billy. Billy's a very experienced coach, and I think he's bringing the best out of Lewis. Um, you know, go apart from Lewis's last fight up against a monster in Conor Walker. Like Conor Walker's a fantastic fighter as well. He's no slacker. And I give Lewis as much as Lewis give him. I thought Lewis won the fight. Won the fight. It was a tough fight, but it was probably the best fight Lewis could have before this fight. You know, it mentally switched him on and thinking, that I need to up my level here if I want to push down towards world honors. And I chat away to Lewis. I'm very friendly with Lewis. Um, but me personally, going off, I used to spar them years ago. I haven't seen I've seen Paddy's progress, but obviously I haven't felt it in sparring in a long time. But I feel right now on the experience side, it would be Lewis that would be tipping the scale for me. But Paddy has always been the man to rise to the occasions. He's a multiple kind of medals at amateur. He's got fantastic experience, and he's on that southpaw stance. Andy Lee's the absolute genius with southpaws, and he's created some shocks, um, throughout the boxing world. So I reckon Lewis Crocker's tipping the scale for me right now. But that's not to say, we might see a Paddy, But for me, Lewis, and I think Lewis is confident going in here. He is confident going in here. You've seen it in the press conferences. And I've seen Paddy has a little bit of nerves, but at the end of the day, it's the nerves that kind of push you on to, get you going. And I think that might work in Paddy's favour. Paddy's a showman. He shows up whenever there's a big crowds. So it's it's all on the night. I think it's all on the night, and I expect it to be a fantastic fight and one of the greats in Irish boxing.
Definitely. And like if I was to ask you the question sort of could be a different answer tomorrow. That's how great a fight it is it on a particular day. Like I'm trying not to think about it because, if you think about it, it settles your daily routine. You're going, why second guessing yourself, sort of thing. Your opinion changes daily, so I'm not trying to think on it. For you yourself, I guess obviously this interview is probably more on you. So, like, do you have any fight news? Like, when are you hoping to be back into the ring, Tiernan?
Yeah, I'm hoping to be back in the ring around April. I only got a phone call in the last few days regarding some fight news. So I think we're gonna go ahead with a title shot um and see. I don't know if I'm gonna release it yet. Probably in the next couple of weeks, but yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one, and I think for me it's the right time. Um, I said a couple of weeks back. I want titles this year. On my socials, so we're starting as we mean to go on, and I'm really looking forward to this year. It's a big 25 for me. Um, I turned 28 in March, so I'm moving into my prime years, and I do not want to waste that. Uh, I really want to start settling into my professional boxing career. And I think this is only the start.
Will that make up, obviously, having a title fight in April? Will that make up for obviously the disappointment, obviously not fighting the last couple of years? Can you say as much as like would the title fight maybe potentially get you world ranked, or where are we sort of? I guess you don't
Yeah, I
want to
think
say too much and get in baller.
yeah, I think it will kind of it'll push me definitely up the rankings. I'm not too sure. Um, I'll know after a win. I'll know after a win where I am. But yeah, definitely. I think it'll set things in motions for a lot more exciting fights now in the future, rather than your run of the mill opponent. And I think there'll be no reason to keep me on the sidelines once I have something strapped around my waist. Um, and I think that's been the plan now, set in motion. This has been the plan set in motion since I moved over here to Brighton. Ever since I've started my boxing career, but especially so ever since I've came to Brighton, I think that's been on everybody's minds. And I'm really looking forward to putting it in motion.
It's something you spoke to me before about and saying, that you wanted to wait for these title fights before you had the big platforms, the big opportunities for it on. Like, for you to be, I guess, pushing towards world rankings and stuff like that's where you're only starting to sort of scratch the surface of where obviously your talents and things are getting to. But hopefully I'm not saying too much here, but like if you were to get a world ranking, say so to speak, you then there's bigger fights in the platform. You then could potentially then becoming the headline in these shows and stuff as well. So then people really get to see who the real Tiernan Bradley is.
No, absolutely. I mean, I've spoken to GBM, and I'm sure Kieran Malloy has spoken to GBM. We're very persistent on the Ireland show. We're very persistent on the Ireland show, because you know, as I spoke about at the start of the interview, Irish fighters always have to go abroad to fight, and I think it'll be special. It'll be special for me and Kieran to kind of come home and put on a performance, and also give other Irish fighters, a chance to get on the show and get a chance on the zone. Some of the chances that maybe I know I was not given coming through. So that's also something that I want to kind of give back. And it's absolutely that's why I absolutely admire Conlan boxing, admire them, because you got Jack O'Neill on the show. You've got Farrell and Hughes. Um,
Theo Allen's on as well.
and Theo's on it as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, there's Paddy McCurry doing his magic, and yeah, like Theo's another throw man as well. I think he's on the 1st of Feb.
First of Feb and then first of March. What a start!
Yep.
Like first four fights, three in the SSE Arena, one in the Ulster Hall. Like that's the dream scenario.
Here, look at It's a great it's a great resume that Paddy McCrory has in the poll. It shows the poll that he has.
Mm.
Um, and I think that'll work in his favour now coming through as there'll be a lot more um fighters turning pro from Ireland. Paddy's a fantastic role model for a lot of the fighters. Obviously he never got his full shot until late in his career, but he took the opportunity with both hands, went in there and gave it his all, and he's fought some fantastic fighters. Um, and I think you couldn't turn him down if he came looking for you.
Speaking of obviously somebody else, you obviously got another big opportunity in someone that's very, very close to you. Obviously, your brother Callum, obviously signing him a probox. He's obviously going to have opportunities both sides of the pond now. Obviously, primarily, probably, hopefully in Belfast and around the UK, but he's going to get opportunities in American stuff as well. He wouldn't get his eyes fixed. Like, it's crazy to think his first 5 fights, he was fighting pretty much blind, but you know, obviously hopefully him returning to action soon as well. Like the two have never really fought sort of together, have you? So he started off, he had his first 5 fights, I think, and then you obviously come back. You found the love again for the sport through Callum. After having a sort of a break, then Callum's been inactive while you've been working, so the two are also going to be active around the same time.
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen how hard Callum has worked to get where he is now. He's always been like a consistent trainer. He's always trained. He's put in the work, and but I know now, like over the last few months, ever since kind of he's getting back. He had his eye surgery in September. Got his eyes fixed. Um, and I think ever since then he's really he's upped it 3 or 4 gears in his training, and it's absolutely fantastic. He's sparring well. He's come over here and done rounds with Razor Ali in London, and I've been really impressed by his progression. Ever since he was fighting his last fight, um, so I'm really impressed by what kind of training he's doing, because he trains himself and he goes up and trains with D Walsh. You know, he has to travel an hour and a half up to Belfast, an hour and a half back, and you know that takes some commitment. And that takes some drive to get up and do it when you don't have somebody sitting there beside you and getting you up, or your gym's 5 minutes away. So that fire is definitely there, and it's raging. And I'm sure it's raging because he had kind of missed them couple of years, kind of like me. Whenever I came back into the scene, that fire in your belly is really, really there, and you're looking to push on and prove yourself. But not only prove yourself to others, but prove it to yourself.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that
Um,
matters the most, doesn't it? Is proving it to yourself.
exactly, and show that you're not giving up. On the God given talent that you have, and that's just the most important thing. And I'm really looking forward. I'm so happy that he's been given now the promotional contract. With Probox TV, and things will be set in motion now this year, and I think it's going to be a fantastic year for him. And I know Probox does a lot of shows here in the UK and Ireland,
Mhm.
and they also do shows in America. So it's a great opportunity for them to get on shows in America as well. I know one of the fans that came to my last fight. He's uh he lives in Pennsylvania. Yeah, an American man, and his wife came over and watched my last fight. Flew over. Joe McConnell is his name. And he's been following my career ever since the start of my professional career. But I told him, Callum had signed with an American promoter, and he says, "Look, I'll be the first person to buy tickets for him. It'll be fantastic." So he's already got fans in America waiting for him.
And as more
So
people see him fight as well, he'll grow even more fans.
exactly, exactly, and I think moving forward, I don't know, obviously I spoke to him, but I think the natural progression this year, I think he can go straight in for any title. It's up for grabs. And I think he's going to do absolutely amazing. I think he's going to shock a few people because obviously a few people hasn't seen him fight, in a few years. So I think he's going to shock a lot more people with his style, but not only how much of a man he is this time around. Before he was a baby-faced assassin. Now he is still baby-faced, but he's a lot more of an assassin this time.
He's got that experience as well. Like obviously, he's like yourself. He's passionate about the sport, the IQ level, obviously, of boxing and stuff as well. Like it's probably them wee things that people won't realize: the footwork, the timing, and stuff like that. Like model professional, people just haven't seen that. As you say, out of the ring since 2021, I think, since the feile. So that time away, experience, becoming a man, sort of thing as well. With that as well, like they come back a completely different beast.
Yeah, look, it's what's funny is we go back to the IQ bits. Whenever Callum fights more experienced fighters on paper, he he's doing stuff in the ring that they've never seen before. And after the spar, they're trying to get him to show what he's done. And I think that just proves how much of an IQ he has. He's based his entire life around boxing, as have I, and I think he's got a great brain for it. Um, so I think he's going to shock a lot of people this year on his performances.
Yes. Well, look, Tiernan, obviously, well, thank you for on having the chat. Obviously, we always seem to have these with a period of time between the interviews. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's not too long before your news drops. Well, obviously, we'll look forward to hearing the news like everybody else will. Can't wait to see you back in the ring. And hopefully, next time we see you back in the ring, you have a belt over that shoulder.
Exactly, around my shoulder, around my waist. I don't care as long as it's on me. Great
Definitely. Well, listen, great to get a catch up with you, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you soon.
catch up. All right, catch up soon. All
Cheers,
right,
and take care.
enjoy.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Bye. Bye. Bye.